only been male-female in God's sight, and which remains so today regardless of what any court rules. Some of the greatest leaders in the church have been single, and it's possible that not a few of them, like the Catholic leader Henry Nouwen, wrestled with same-sex attraction. Question number 23. If not, might it be fair to say that mandating celibacy for gay Christians is not a traditional position? Brown's response: absolutely false. What is emphatically not a traditional position is the idea that two men or two women would enter into a blessed romantic and sexual relationship. That is not just unbiblical and untraditional, it is diametrically opposed to everything Scripture teaches and the church has taught about sexual and material intimacy. Sexual and marital intimacy. Anyone who would not marry someone of the opposite sex, or anyone who could not marry someone of the opposite sex, to repeat, the only marital option before God, or who chose not to marry, would be celibate. Question number 24. Do you believe that the Bible explicitly teaches that all gay Christians must be single and celibate for life? Now, he just gives a great response here. This is his response. First, I reject the category of gay Christians, as if someone's sexual desires and romantic attractions define their entire being. Many researchers today believe that pedophilia is innate and immutable. But would we dare call someone a pedophilic Christian? Even if that person renounced those feelings and was living a holy life? Why then speak of gay Christians? That is embracing the spirit and mindset of the world rather than that of the Lord. That being said, without possible question, Christians who are same-sex attracted can seek the Lord for His grace to change, and many, thank God, have been helped in that way, or one day at a time seek His grace to be celibate. Those are the only options, and the church must stand with them in faith, love, friendship, and support. This is a very holy calling. Question number 25. If not, do you feel comfortable affirming something that is not explicitly affirmed in the Bible? Brown's response: again, your question is based on a false premise. What is explicitly affirmed over and over again in the Bible is that God requires holiness of all of His people, and that the only outlet for sexual intimacy is in the confines of marriage, which, to repeat, can only be the union of a man and woman. This is as explicit as anything in the Word. Number 26. Do you believe that the moral distinction between lust and love matters for LGBT people's romantic relationships? Not any more than the distinction holds in matters of fornication and adultery, meaning many fornicating couples love each other, but their relationship is still sinful, and many adulterers truly fall in love with their adulterous partner, yet their relationship is still sinful. It's the same with homosexual couples, even if they love each other. And I would argue that homosexual love is not genuine love at all. I would argue it's extreme selfishness, and that it is actually a destructive thing. It destroys the other person. How can you say you love someone if you're in a relationship that is destroying the other person? Question number 27. Do you think that loving same-sex relationships would be assessed in the same way as the same-sex behavior Paul explicitly describes as lustful in Romans 1? Brown's answer: absolutely. In terms of being contrary to what God intended, the fundamental issue, as the Greek text indicates, especially when compared to the Septuagint, the ancient Greek translation of Genesis 1, is that such behavior is contrary to the Creator's design for His creation. It really is self-evident that God designed a man to be with a woman on many levels, and that He did not design a man to be with a man or a woman to be with a woman, which is also why, on average, there is far more homosexual and bisexual promiscuity than heterosexual promiscuity, not to mention a greater percentage of sexually transmitted diseases. I realize that there are committed homosexual couples, although in many cases their definition of monogamy is hardly traditional. But the Word never has that and an inherently sinful act somehow becomes sanctified by repeating it with the same person. Number 28, do you believe that Paul's use of the term shameful and unnatural in Romans 1:26-27 means that all same-sex relationships are sinful? Brown's response, without a doubt, based on the consistency and testimony of Scripture, which Paul reaffirms in Romans 1, which is why numerous gay and lesbian scholars have stated that Paul explicitly opposed all forms of homoeroticism. Number 29, would you say the same about Paul's description of long hair in men as shameful and against nature in 1 Corinthians 11:14, or would you say would you say he was describing cultural norms of his time? I'm going to read that question again because I messed it up a little bit. Let's try it again. Number 29, would you say the same about Paul's description of long hair in men as shameful and against nature in 1 Corinthians 11:14, or would you say he was describing cultural norms of his time? Brown's answer, actually, you cannot possibly compare Paul's condemnation of homosexual practice in Romans 1 with his teaching about long hair and or veiling of the hair in 1 Corinthians 11. Nor does he ever make the latter a matter of salvation, whereas he clearly does of the former, as in 1 Corinthians 6:9-11. As to nature, in 1 Corinthians 11, actually, women by nature have longer and fuller hair than men, and to this day, it is a much more serious issue for a woman to lose her hair than a man. And in the culture of the day, for a married woman to go outside her house unveiled would be immodest. So the question was raised as to what conduct was proper in a house church meeting. How can this be compared to the radical redefining of marriage and to the attempt to sanctify something that God says is detestable? Good answer. Number 30. Do you believe that the capacity for procreation is essential to marriage? Brown's response. Procreation is essential to the design of marriage, which means only a man and a woman can marry because only they are designed to procreate. That is self-evident from the creation accounts in Genesis 1 and 2, where human beings are commanded to be fruitful and multiply, and where Adam needs a suitable helper, not just companion, because he and his wife must produce offspring for the future of humanity, and they are the paradigm emphasized throughout Scripture, reinforced by Jesus in Matthew 19 and Paul in Ephesians 5. Question number 31 by Matthew Vines. If so, what does that mean for infertile homosexual couples? Answer. Heterosexual couples who are infertile have not violated the design of marriage. Rather, they have a disability within the design parameters of marriage. Just like a bird with a broken wing. But to compare a homosexual couple with an infertile heterosexual couple is to compare a fish to a bird with a broken wing. Question number 32. How much time have you spent engaging with the writings of LGBT-affirming Christians like Justin Lee, James Brownson, and Rachel Murr? Answer. I have spent countless hours studying these writings, amassing a large library of pro-LGBT books, even praying as I read them for God to show me any blind spots in my own understanding. I can safely say that not one of them makes the slightest genuinely biblical positive case for homosexual practice, and that not one of them adequately refutes the clear teaching of Scripture, prohibiting all forms of homosexual practice. On the sociological end of things, readers can work through 1,500 endnotes in A Queer Thing Happened to America. That's his book before he wrote, on the same topic before he wrote Can You Be Gay and Christian? A Queer Thing Happened to America, or consult the bibliography here, and he's got a link to that. On the biblical end of things, readers can work through the 15-page select bibliography, Can You Be Gay and Christian? Or the 518 endnotes to that book, in which I quote extensively from those who differ with my position. Number 33. What relationship recognition rights misreading that. What relationship recognition rights, short of marriage, do you support for same-sex couples? Brown's response, I support their treatment as fellow human beings and to be protected from acts of hatred and violence like everyone else is entitled. I support no special recognition of their relationship. Question number 34. What are you doing to advocate for those rights? Brown's response, I have often spoken out against gay bashing and bullying, and I follow the principle of reach out and resist, meaning reach out to LGBT people with compassion, resist gay activism with courage. Because of this emphasis, when gay protesters came to my home church several years ago, they quickly apologized to our people once they began to interact with their organizer, calling my radio show the next day to apologize to me personally. I was not there when the protest occurred, stating, once we got there Sunday morning, we were greeted with absolutely perfect love. I mean, it was fantastic. This proves that you can oppose homosexual practice as sinful, yet do so full of God's love. Question number 35. Do you know who Tyler Clement, Leila Alcorn, and Blake Brockington are? And did your church offer any kind of prayer for them when their deaths made national news? Brown's response, yes, of course I know about these tragic stories, as my article on the suicide of Joshua Alcorn, written with sensitivity and pain, indicates. As for my congregation, specifically focusing on them to be candid, specifically focusing on them to be candid while we care deeply about the well-being of those who identify LGBT. There are millions of people dying around the world with unspeakable tragedies taking place day and night across America and other countries. It would be very strange for us to focus on these few tragedies as opposed to the tragic deaths of these countless others. May I ask, in turn, how much time you spend fighting against human trafficking in the third world? Our ministry school grads are actively engaged there as well as in America. Or how much humanitarian work you've actively support in war-torn Muslim countries. Our grads are serving there as I speak at the risk of their own lives. Or how much time you invest in stopping the slaughter of the unborn. Again, our grads are fighting for life every day. Question number 36. Getting down to the end here, folks. Question number 36. Do you know that LGBT youth whose families reject them are 8.4 times more likely to attempt suicide than LGBT youth whose families support them? Brown's response. I teach Christian parents to demonstrate unconditional love to their kids who come out as gay, telling them, you know what we believe, but you are our child and we love you and care about you just the same, and we're here for you. To my joy, I've received testimonies from both parents and older children who have come through these struggles, with those children now serving the Lord and living holy lives. What I also know is that adult homosexuals, even in gay-affirming environments, continue to have higher instances of depression, suicide, substance abuse, and sexually transmitted diseases. Why would I want to support that? Good answer. Question number 37. Have you vocally objected when the church leaders and other Christians have compared same-sex relationships to things like bestiality, incest, and pedophilia? I have clearly and emphatically distinguished between consensual adult sexual behaviors and say sexual abuse of children, also openly correcting those who use unhelpful rhetoric. At the same time, you must protest against Leviticus 18, which groups homosexual practice together with incest and bestiality. In other words, these are serious violations of God's intent for his people. And if you eliminate Leviticus 18 from your canon or of relevant scripture, on what basis should incest be forbidden? Question number 38. How certain are you that God's will for all gay Christians is lifelong celibacy? Once more, I object to your gay Christian moniker as a term of self-identification, but I'm sure that people who cannot marry, meaning male-female marriage, must be celibate. Yes, 100% sure. The scriptures are unequivocal on this? That's Brown's response. That was a long question there. Number 30.